Awards odds are out as we get ready for the 2025 season. The one award the Magic have to win, or should be in the running for, today on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is August 1st, 2024. It might be July 31st when you listen to this. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to go over some of the awards odds. We'll hit the big ones at least, and talk about the one award the Orlando Magic have to win to have a successful season. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. No matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload, we truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. With the playoffs done, with the NBA season done, with the Olympics in full swing, sports isn't quite the same in the summer, but FanDuel is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There's something for everyone every day all summer long. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. The Orlando Magic are betting on Paolo Banchero. No getting around it, no changing it, no deciding it. We talked about it endlessly last week. We will continue to talk about it. Magic fans are in the business of defending Paolo Banchero because he is the centerpiece player of this roster and of this team. Nothing that the Orlando Magic does makes sense without Paolo Banchero. And for the Magic to accomplish their goals, and we'll hit some of the ideas on what the Magic's goals should be a little bit later on, either this week or next week. For the Orlando Magic to hit their goals, home court advantage, winning a playoff series, eventually becoming a championship contender, all starts with Paolo Banchero. In the NBA, you're only as good as your stars. And so as we begin to think about what the Magic need to do, to accomplish these goals, but within this context, what the Magic need to do or the awards they need to win in order to get where they ultimately want to go, we have to start with Paolo Banchero. No, Paolo's probably not going to win MVP this year. That should be maybe in his future, but to see that kind of a leap this year, especially with how crowded and great this MVP crowd will likely be. Jokic is back, of course. Embiid may be healthy. Giannis may be healthy as well. Luka Doncic, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Paolo's got a ways to go to break into that mold. But that's kind of the point, is that Paolo has to get to that level. For the Magic to accomplish any of the things that they want to accomplish, we have to see Paolo break into that mold. And so, if there is one award the Magic have to win this season, if we're going to use this as our framing to think about how the Magic improve, if the Magic have to win one award this season, Paolo Banchero getting named Most Improved Player, that is the award they need to win. Now, Most Improved Player is a really fudgy award. It's a really, really weird award to talk about because, in my estimation, if I were voting, I wouldn't give it to a guy like Paolo Banchero because I don't think it should go to a player who goes merely from star to superstar. It should go to a player who has resurrected his career, who has really gone from a down place to a better place. Jalen Suggs would have been a great candidate for Most Improved Player, and it wouldn't surprise me if Jalen Suggs is in the running again this year. But the reality is the voters do consider the leap from star to superstar worthy of Most Improved Player. And in fact, our friends over at FanDuel have Paolo Banchero with the sixth best odds to win the Most Improved Player award at plus 2,000. So 200 to 1 odds. Not a bad bet. If Paolo Banchero does what he did in the playoffs for the entire season. If that is the hint of what Paolo Banchero can be, where he averaged 27 points per game, same kind of shooting splits, oddly, but nearly 5 assists a game, 7-8 rebounds per game. If he could be the playoff version of Paolo Banchero and just a tad bit more efficient, Paolo could very easily break into that most improved world. To this point, Victor Wembanyama is your betting favorite to be the most improved player. This award really has become which good player turned into a superstar. But again, this is the point. This is the thing we're getting at. This is what we're hoping to see Paolo become. For the Magic to accomplish all their goals, for the Magic to reach home court advantage, for the Magic to reach the second round of the playoffs, yeah, Franz needs to shoot better. Yeah, Jalen Suggs needs to be a more dynamic playmaker and creator. Yes, Anthony Black, Jet Howard, those guys need to contribute. Cole Anthony, yes, the team needs to be better to accomplish those goals. But Paolo entering a new stratosphere changes all of that too, and changes it in a significantly better way. We know Paolo is going to work hard to get there. We know that what he is capable of. We saw him elevate his game in his first playoff run. There is a lot to be excited about when it comes to Paolo Banchero. There is a lot to believe in when it comes to what Paolo is capable of. And there's every reason to believe that he can make this leap. So yes, eventually we want Paolo Banchero to be in the conversation for MVP, which, by the way, Paolo Banchero is on the board for MVP at plus 50,000. That's, I believe, 500 to 1 odds, if I do my math correctly. He's on the board for it, but we're not pretending he's in that conversation yet. We're not there yet. But for most improved player, sitting alongside Franz Wagner, plus 4,000, Jalen Suggs, plus 5,000, Jonathan Isaac, plus 10,000. The Magic have a lot of candidates who are going to take a step up this year. No one needs to take that next step more than Paolo Banchero. Because Paolo becoming a superstar changes everything about this team. We know what Paolo is capable of in these situations. We have seen it. Him becoming an MVP caliber player, him reaching that level, changes everything for Orlando. And that's why winning most improved player, that's why putting him in that conversation, it's not about necessarily Paolo hitting that level. It's not necessarily about that. That's a sign the team is doing better, because this team's going to go as far as Paolo takes them. And that's why it's the award the Magic need to win. Paolo is not the only one in those odds. We'll go over some of the more interesting odds on the FanDuel board as we start thinking about award season and thinking about the upcoming season. We'll talk about what it all means coming up here in just a moment. But first, would you look at that? Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at FanDuel. We're going to spend a lot of time going over the odds for particular awards for the NBA season. Like I mentioned, Paolo Banchero sitting at plus 50,000 for MVP. For most improved player, he is sitting at plus 2,000, sixth on the board. Franz Wagner is right behind him at plus 4,000. Jalen Suggs is plus 5,000. Jonathan Isaac plus 10,000. We'll go over some of those other odds coming up here in a minute. But if you want to start looking ahead to the NBA season, start looking ahead to over-unders, Magic set at 47.5. Favorites to win the Southeast Division, sitting in fifth among the odds for Eastern Conference. I believe they're at plus 2,000 on that, maybe a little bit more. FanDuel has you all set to get you ready for the NBA season. Plus, they're always great daily selections now, even during this dead sports period. FanDuel this summer is hooking up all customers with a boost or a bonus daily. That's right. There is something for everyone every day, all summer long. So head over to FanDuel.com and start making the most out of your summer. FanDuel is the official sports betting partner of Major League Baseball. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. For your next listen, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel program for you every day to bring you the biggest stories without the screaming that you get from the national shows. In fact, you get the expertise of the local team, the local experts covering their teams every day. That's the power of the Locked On Podcast Network. And Locked On Sports Today brings you can't-miss analysis and opinions and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. That's all part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So let's go through some of the other players who are on the board for awards. And look, it's hard to win these individual awards. Jamal Mosley had a very good shot to win Coach of the Year last year, finished second. Repeating that's going to be tougher because that's an award that's based purely on expectations. This Thunder, like Mark Daniel, deserved Coach of the Year. Jamal Mosley deserved Coach of the Year. They won those awards because they exceeded expectations. They caught the league by surprise, and the media sat around saying, why are they so good? Must be the coach. But really, I think what's really important as we look at these awards and look at where the Magic might stand in these awards is to say, hey, what do the Magic have to do to win these awards? And what does that say about the Magic if they are competitive for these awards? Individual awards are really team awards because so much of this, it isn't completely analytical. It is narrative. The media votes on these things, and I truly respect the media. Stories hold power. Stories matter. And how you tell these stories and how these awards represent the story of the league absolutely matters. And so, of course, we're going to sit here and the Magic are kind of in the back of the pack for a lot of these awards and probably good odds if you are looking to go to FanDuel and make a smart bet and say, oh, I think they'll do this. A lot of this is about which teams matter. And at the end of the year, the players that win and are finalists for these awards are the ones on teams that matter. So it's important, like I said, winning most improved player for a player like Paolo Banchero, that matters because it means, he elevated his individual game to a point where he is an unquestioned superstar with where he's at in his career and where he's at and what he did last year. But ultimately, that also means the team has elevated itself. Being on the front of that award means that the team matters, that the Magic matter, that the Magic are competitive, and are part of the story of the league. I would say that more than anything else, when the schedule comes out next week or 2 weeks from now, when the schedule comes out, the Magic are going to get a few national TV games. Like they should get 4, maybe 5. Like that, I'll put the over. That's not a FanDuel over under, but I'll put the over under on that. This is about being part of the story of the league, being relevant enough that the league wants the Magic story to be told. The fact of the matter is, rightly or wrongly, the Magic are not in that conversation. And so the question then with each of these awards is, how does this player contribute to the story of the league? How do they get into the story of the league? And obviously a big part of the Orlando Magic is Defensive Player of the Year. And I would love to say Jalen Suggs is a great candidate to win Defensive Player of the Year, but the fact of the matter is guards don't win this award. Suggs is currently plus 7,500 on FanDuel to win Defensive Player of the Year. He is in the mix. He's an all-defensive team player. The Magic should have one of the best defenses in the league again. They will have at least 3 candidates for the all-defensive team. I would argue they'll have 4. Jonathan Isaac is one of those. He's plus 10,000. He probably would have been on the all-defensive team last year if he were eligible to be on it. But obviously, even he is further back. The Magic, again, Jalen Suggs just isn't part of the story. Victor Wembanyama is. The NBA has made it a point to make Victor Wembanyama matter. And look, Victor Wembanyama does deserve to be in these considerations because of the numbers he puts up, and even the stats back up that, yes, he made a real defensive impact. But this isn't the Magic will be a defensive team without a Defensive Player of the Year candidate. Suggs should be on the all-defensive team again. That's absolutely something that's vital. And again, a clue to the success for the franchise and the success for the season. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope pushed really hard to be on the all-defensive team last year. He did not make it. He was a little upset about that. He'll be on a really good defensive team, have a chance to be on that list again. Jonathan Isaac will absolutely be on that list. Even though Franz Wagner is not listed on the FanDuel's betting odds, I think Franz Wagner has a very good chance to be on the all-defensive team as well. The Magic have a lot of candidates on that front. Looking at some other names, Franz Wagner on the most improved player, him increasing his three-point shooting could see his scoring jump up from like 19 to 25. If he shoots a little bit better, 35% would mean he's making 1.5 more threes per game. That gets him up to like 21, 22 points per game. If he makes 2 more threes per game, all of a sudden he is an all-star. That's definitely a player for most improved player. And again, Franz does that. The Magic should advance up the standings too. There is a team aspect here, and obviously Franz is a big part of the story as well. Coach of the Year, Jamal Mosley is currently listed at plus 1,500. The betting favorites are Ime Udoka of the Houston Rockets and Tom Thibodeau of the New York Knicks. Coach of the Year is purely about expectation. The expectation for the Orlando Magic this year is to make the playoffs again, is to get home court advantage. That is a much narrower path to walk. It's much easier to win this award if you surprise people and get like the top seed like Mark Daigneault did, or if you're a surprise playoff team. Jamal Mosley deserves Coach of the Year. I love the job Jamal Mosley has done with this team. But I think that window is probably passed until the Magic truly reach contender status. But again, that gets back to the bigger point. You win these awards by surprising people, but you win these awards by being by meeting your expectations, surpassing your expectations, and being part of the larger NBA narrative. For a lot of these awards, if the Magic are going to win any of them, it's going to be because they are suddenly contending team, that they're suddenly a contending team, that they're no longer just, oh, that's a nice young playoff team. Get your experience, you guys. It's, oh, now they are a threat to win a title. And maybe it'll be like the Thunder were last year. This is no offense to the Thunder who, did really well. It's going to, maybe they'll be like the Thunder. It's like, okay, they're probably in a little bit over their head, but we can't deny they're the 1 seed. They're the 2 seed. The Magic cracking that code is absolutely critical to any of these awards. The one other award that I do think the Magic have a fair chance at winning, and this one's a little bit divorced from results, is Rookie of the Year. Tristan da Silva is currently plus 5,000 to be Rookie of the Year. So still a little bit of a long shot, 50-1. But the betting favorite is Zach Edey of the Memphis Grizzlies at plus 600. To me, that speaks to the fact, 6-1 for those who don't like the plus-minus system of betting, of odds. To me, that speaks to the fact that this Rookie of the Year race is going to be wide open. And you expect that. This is a rookie class that doesn't have a clear-cut star. Zachary Risache coming to the Atlanta Hawks is going to be interesting, but we don't really know what we have. Alex Sarr looked still very, very raw in Summer League for the Washington Wizards. Reed Sheppard was the top guy for the Rockets, but the Rockets are going to be a team pushing for the playoffs. His role could be a little bit in flux in what he's able to provide. It doesn't feel like it's going to be a rookie class where just looking at who's scoring the most points, who leads in points per game, is going to tell us who the best rookie is. And so again, it's a kind of year where a rookie on a playoff team could win the award because they are front and center. That's how Mike Miller beat Kenyon Martin for Rookie of the Year back in 2000. Mike Miller didn't score as much as Kenyon Martin, but the ultimate tiebreaker was Mike Miller is a contributor, a starter on a playoff team. That mattered to the voters, and Mike Miller won Rookie of the Year. Tristan da Silva is probably not going to start, but Tristan da Silva absolutely has the potential to make a meaningful contribution to a playoff team. And then potentially, again, to a team that is competing for home court advantage, that is competing for something very, very real. Even though I think Rookie of the Year is a little bit divorced from team results a little bit more, it is a little bit more of an individual award. If the Magic make the kind of leap that everybody hopes they make, Tristan da Silva will absolutely be a candidate for Rookie of the Year because, assumedly, he will be playing a major part in that effort. he'll be playing a major part in the Magic trying to make the playoffs, win home court advantage, win the Eastern Conference. And so, again, I want to tie this up in a bow. This is all for entertainment purposes. Go to FanDuel, do what you have to do. I think the Magic are actually a pretty good betting value because they're not a team a lot of people are talking about. And if you're going to bet on the Magic doing well, these guys are going to climb those rankings very, very quickly because as your team does better, you get more attention, you get more eyeballs, you get people believing in you more. Right now, people are kind of lukewarm on the Magic. They think, oh, that's a nice team. That's a dangerous team. They're not quite there yet. And I think these odds reflect that. But if the Magic accomplish what they want to accomplish as a team, it'll be because individuals take a major step up, of course. And then the team's success will feed back to individual accolades and awards. If the Magic are going to be a home court advantage team, if they are going to be an Eastern Conference contender, it's going to be because Paolo Banchero is knocking on the door of an All-NBA team this year, which he was a little bit last year because of injuries and such, but it'll be because he's knocking on the door and is in the running for most improved player. It'll be because maybe not Jalen Suggs is a defensive player of the year candidate, but the aggregate of Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Isaac, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, and Franz Wagner is like that foursome is an defensive player of the year. It'll be because Tristan da Silva came in and made an immediate impact that makes you think he's all rookie, but B, a potential rookie of the year candidate. It'll be because Cole Anthony, who is a long shot to win sixth man of the year, and I would argue Jonathan Isaac or Mo Wagner might be better sixth man of the year bets, but it'll be because Cole Anthony had that bounce back year that everyone is hoping that he has, looks a little bit more efficient and spry as a shooter and scorer, and the Magic have one of the best benches in the league again, putting him at the top of the list for sixth man of the year. If the Magic climb the standings into contender status, Jamal Mosley will be a coach of the year. These awards will be a reflection of what the Magic do this season. And if the Magic want to do well as a team, these individual players will have to take that step up and be in the running for this recognition at the end of the day. But like I said in our first segment, for the Magic to get where they really want to go, it starts with Paolo Banchero. And if he's in the running for most improved player of the year, that probably means something went very, very right for the Magic this season. It's time for your daily Olympics update. We'll chat about Team USA, their game against South Sudan, and the mess that is Team USA basketball. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. Team USA is moving on to the quarterfinals. They defeated South Sudan on Wednesday. Not a huge surprise. Obviously, South Sudan gave them a scare in exhibition play. But look, Team USA is a mess. This is, yes, they're dominating. They've dominated these first two games. So I don't want to say it too bluntly, but this is not a team living up to its talent and living up to its potential. And at the end of the day, you're yes, win the gold. That is really all that matters. No one cares if the U.S. is wearing the gold medal on August 10th. I believe that's when the gold medal game is, a Saturday before the Olympics end. No one will care as long as the gold medal is around everyone's neck. But this team, the way it's been put together, the process of it all is an absolute mess. And I am, as a Team USA observer, I am a little bit frustrated because you see the pockets of talent. Obviously the talent's evident, but you see the pockets of cohesion and then it just goes away. And while South Sudan is dangerous enough to take advantage of that, as they nearly did a couple weeks ago, they weren't able to do it in this game. And U.S. deserves credit for that and deserves credit for buckling up defensively when they had to buckle up. But by the same token, there are better opponents out there. And yes, they did this to Serbia and looked really good against Serbia on Sunday. There are better teams out there, including our friends from Germany. There is a team that is going to be able to pick the U.S. off. And if the U.S. keeps playing the way that they're playing, they are in trouble. Just look at the splits. Honestly, like let's just go with this. Just look at the splits in this game against South Sudan. It is wild that in a game, the U.S. really dominated in almost every fashion, a 103-86 victory. A game where they started off slow, they put the hammer down in the second quarter, and then just frankly coasted through the second half. That part was a little bit frustrating on my end. 30-20, they won the fourth quarter 30-29. Like they gave up a lot of shots. But if you look at the splits, at the plus minus splits, it tells a very strange story. LeBron James, who I think was the best player on the team, was -7 with 6 turnovers. LeBron's trying, like he wants this. This is a legacy gold medal for him. He wants the gold. But that starting group has been a disaster. Anthony Davis, who has been very good, -5. LeBron, -7. The bench comes in and they dominate. Kevin Durant, +26. Derek White, +18. Anthony Edwards, +18. Bam Adebayo, +22. The U.S. will win games because of their depth. They're just deeper than every team in this tournament. And unless you can kind of keep games close, it doesn't much matter. But man, there's a lot of struggle here. Look, I don't want to put everything down. Like I said, LeBron played really well. Steph Curry is struggling. He was 1 for 9, 0 for 6 from 3. That starting group, and the U.S. did change their starting group, starting Jason Tatum and Anthony Davis over Joel Embiid and Drew Holiday. That starting group looks rough. They don't look like they fit together really well. And then that bench group comes in, Anthony Edwards, Derek White, Kevin Durant, Bam Adebayo especially, and they're just playing free-flowing. The ball is moving. Everybody's able to space the floor. Everybody's able to attack. They defend at a high level. Adebayo is hitting threes. Adebayo had a fantastic game with 18 points on 8 for 10 shooting, made 2 of 3 3-pointers, added 7 rebounds for good measure. That bench group is the group I want. Give me every bit of that bench group. And this is like what and this is obviously where the U.S. is building their lead and it's been consistent throughout the exhibition games as well as the Olympics, the 2 Olympic games. They're building their lead because of the bench group. And you expect that obviously the U.S. has better depth than every team in the tournament. But this is the team I want. Again, if you've listened to me talk about Team USA, and I talk about it obviously every time there's a USA tournament because I think it's important for us. I talk about this continuity and building an actual team and not just slapping together all-stars. Durant, Anthony Edwards, Bam Adebayo, Derek White as a connector, they've really learned how to play together very quickly. And the pieces and the players just make sense. Everybody can shoot it. Everybody can play off the ball. Durant is like amazingly like the biggest enhancer because yeah, he can attack and he can score, but he is perfectly happy spotting up for 3 and doing that. Anthony Edwards has found like that defensive dog in him, to be perfectly honest. And Team USA's brought that out of him. It's the greatest benefit that Team USA has given to him. And he has so much confidence. Derek White is an ultimate connector. Bam Adebayo is an ultimate connector on defense, especially. They're able to switch. They're able to move around. They have size. They do everything that you want them to do. And if this is Team USA moving forward, that's what they need to be. The LeBron, Booker, Curry, Davis, or Embiid, whoever's at power forward, it's been a struggle for them. And I don't know exactly why. Maybe some of it is LeBron, directing traffic and holding the ball too much. Maybe it's, Steph Curry doesn't get to, they don't have time to kind of learn the timing of Steph Curry's movements and screening actions. And so they've really struggled to get him involved and get him into a rhythm. The ball just doesn't move. It's all kind of stagnant when that starting group is in. And look, it hasn't mattered yet. It hasn't mattered yet, but I think it will. And that's the concern, is that this is going to be a problem, that this is going to be an issue for the team at some point. It's not going to matter. They beat Serbia. Serbia was the best team in their group. It's not going to matter against South Sudan. When they play Puerto Rico on Saturday, it's not going to matter against Puerto Rico. Puerto Rico is a good team. I don't want to put them down too much. I don't think Embiid's going to work really well with them. Embiid's been a disaster for this team. It just, again, slows everything down. They need movement. They need to speed things up. But they made the quarterfinals. The first step on this mission is accomplished. They're looking for ways to improve. I thought their attention was great in the first half. They let go in the second half, but did enough to win. South Sudan did not have the shooting day that they had in the exhibition game. And I think the U.S., got put to attention when they needed to get put to attention. But there are bigger challenges ahead. And obviously your margin for error decreases once you get to the knockout rounds. Quarterfinals are Tuesday. The attention to detail is going to decrease at that point. And so we'll see. I still expect U.S. to win gold. I don't think it's going to be much of a problem. This team is super duper talented. But I'm worried. I'm a little concerned about how they're playing and how they're coming together when the challenges do get tougher. But on to the quarters, mission accomplished. We'll see what they do against Puerto Rico on Saturday. But that's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at @PhilipRR_OMD. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the following sound podcasts to your podcast-enabled listening device. For the latest on the Orlando Magic, be sure to check out OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, you can, of course, follow us there on Twitter at @OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, be sure to check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. And as always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to us here at Locked On Magic, we want to thank you for making it your first listen of the day. For your next listen, enjoy the Locked On NBA podcast. There is no offseason in the NBA, and Locked On NBA provides daily basketball analysis from national and local experts in 30 minutes or less. No one keeps you as informed and entertained as Locked On NBA. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. That's going to do it for me today. I want to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. We're in a little bit of off-season mode, so I'm not going to promise an episode for later, for Friday. So this may be our last episode of the week, but we'll be back, if not Friday, certainly Monday to talk more Orlando Magic basketball. Until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Philip Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.